Eldritch Horror. This is your review for 2. Good day, my name is Joe Gerba. Today we'll be going over Eldritch Horror and how it plays with 2 players. Now Eldritch Horror is a 1 to 8 player game where the players will be taking control of these investigators. These investigators will be getting clues to solve mysteries, all to stop the ancient ones, the Cthulhu types, these big monsters, these big cultist groups from taking over and destroying the world. And let's go into a little bit more how to play. So in this Lovecraftian game, the game is broken up into 3 phases: the action phase, the encounter phase, and then you go into the mythos phase. Well, the investigators, or each player is going to have an investigator, is going to have a special action they can do and a special ability. So you're going to get 2 actions on each investigator's turn, and they'll be between moving, trading resources, trying to acquire assets, resting, just this is how you move around the map, how you move around the world and get things done. You know, where do we want to go? Do we want to try to get this clue? Okay, I'll move over here, and then we'll try to gather some resources, or I'll try to rest and recover my health and insanity. And then we move on to the encounter phase, where you'll look to see what kind of space you're on. Are you on a city space? Are you on a clue? Are you on a wilderness space? Is there a special event there? And you're going to draw this card. And you're going to look and, say I'm at Buenos Aires. Well, I'm going to look under Buenos Aires, read about 2 sentences or so, and it'll tell me to usually test a skill. Now to test a skill, I'm going to roll dice equal to the number on my investigator. And I'll try to get a 5 or 6. Now all I need on these dice is 1, 5, or 6 to pass. So usually they'll have a pass-fail condition on the card, and then you'll follow that and move to the next investigator. So all the investigators are going to be able to do this encounter phase on what they're at, whether it's trying to be, getting these clues, solving mysteries, leveling up your skills, or just a generic encounter. Once all 4 investigators have gone through their encounter phase, then the mythos phase happens. Now these phases may move the doom tracker. So once the doom tracker reaches 0, the ancient one awakens, bad things happen. They can also move the omen tracker. If you have a pre-existing injury, it may cause a trigger on the injury. A gate may spawn. And these gates in Lovecraftian games kind of spawn monsters out of it. So you got to keep these in check too. And just a ton of these cards, they'll spawn clues, spawn monsters. It may be an encounter event, a numerous amount of things. And then sometimes it'll have some text down here that's, you can't take the rest action during your next phase. So this is usually the phase you can't really do too much about, but it's coming. So you're going to really repeat those 3 phases, all while trying to keep the mysteries in the back of your mind, so that you'll have 1 mystery at a time that you can solve sequentially. So you need to solve 3 to win the game, but you only have 1 out. Most of the time these involve getting clues and spending clues on certain actions or certain spaces to solve this mystery. So this is kind of your short-term goal, where your long-term goal is to solve 3 of them. Maybe defeat a big monster, to do something like that. So what you're working towards, which I really do like in this game, is you have an overall goal. How many clues do we need to solve this? So, and you'll repeat those phases. You'll have monsters spawn. You'll have things to deal with. You'll have pass-fail conditions. You'll have leg injuries. You'll have back injuries. All these conditions, you'll be able to, acquire spells from different places on the map. Each city, you can try to roll your influence. However many successes you get, you can buy one of these items down here, level up your character. This is the part that feels good, the action economy that you're going to get along with the encounters, and then you get stuck with the the Mythos phase where the Ancient One kind of strikes back. So that's kind of a high-level overview of how you play the game, and let's see what I thought about the game. Let's talk about the components. There's a lot of components in this game. There's stuff spread across. There's a lot of things. There's a monster bag. You get the Ancient One sheets. You get a lot of player characters. The Mythos cards. There's cards on cards. Just to get this game to the table does take a little bit, just because there's so much you get with this game. The rules are fairly straightforward. There's a couple times where you have to reference the rules. The nicest thing is there is a nice reference on the back of one of the books that'll tell you all the phases. Everything is in the book, the rule book that you need, and it's pretty easy to follow. The rules are pretty straightforward, but there's a lot of things to remember with this game, and it can really turn the tide if you do forget one or two of those key essential rules. Let's talk about table size and setup. This game will take a lot of space. We have this spread out on a 3x6. It has taken all of the 3x6 just for 2 people. The setup takes a long time, especially compared to other games. You have to shuffle a lot of different decks. I think over here I'm counting at least 11 decks you have to shuffle, plus making the Mythos pile deck, plus getting everything set up, everything set out. If you're going to have a game night with somebody, I recommend that you have this set up beforehand. This is not a game that you want to have, spend 30 minutes setting up, because it's going to take all that time from box to getting out, about 30 minutes to set up. So let's talk about the gameplay. There's a lot of decisions to be made in this game. Each of these player characters, each of these investigators are really unique. They all have a unique action. They all have an also unique ability. They have different strengths and weaknesses on the bottom of their card. One may be good at getting more assets. One may be good at defending the willpower. One may just be good at defeating monsters. But there's a lot of decisions to be made, and they can all kind of be driven a little bit by the player character itself. During the action phase, it's really big. My wife and I, we played 2 characters each, so we'd have 4 investigators on the board, and I thought that was pretty manageable. You get to move and say, well, should I do this or this? Which is always good in the game. You always have different choices to be made. Do I want to search, or do I need to rest, or do I need to trade, or do I need to get a ticket to get somewhere? What exactly do I need to do in this city spot? And I really do like that about the game. Now, the next part about the game is the event phase. This part I don't really enjoy as much about the game. Is, say I'm at Buenos Aires. Well, I'm going to draw the corresponding card if there's no clue, and read a little blurb on it. So this could be good or bad or otherwise, but most of the time it's going to make you do a test. So if you do a test with a character who has a skill of 4, you're going to roll 4 dice and hope that you roll a 5 or 6 for the most part. If you do, you get to read the passing part of the card. If you don't, you read the failing part. Now the failing part is usually not good, as you'll get a condition, you'll get an injury, you'll get something bad, and it makes you feel bad. When you're rolling 4 dice just to get that 5 or 6 and you don't get it, it feels really bad. When you roll 1 dice and you do get the 5 or 6 and pass, it does feel pretty good, but you're leaving a lot of chance in these dice. So that's kind of the event phase that you're going to be going through. And I will say there's a lot of different events. You don't know what you're going to get half the time with these cards, good, bad, or otherwise. There's just a lot of luck during this phase. And there's the classic kind of Fantasy Flight Mythos phase, the same thing that happens in in Marvel Champions. The same thing that happens in Arkham Horror, the card game. Same thing that happens in Lord of the Rings, the card game. Is you're going to build this deck stacked a certain way and draw cards off the top. And each one of the ancient ones tells you how to construct the randomness of this deck. And, you know, these will go on top of these, on top of these. And so these cards are very random, usually pretty fair for the most part. There may be rumor cards, there may be different type of mythos cards. Like I said, they may move the omen track, which may move the doom tracker, may cause these gates to spawn, which you need to close throughout the game. May spawn clues, and then usually give you a condition or something at the bottom that tells you what needs to be done. And you're going to go through those phases, and like I said, once the mythos phase is done, the players can go again and kind of reset and go, okay, well, how do we need to deal with threat A, B, and C, all while keeping these mysteries in mind. So the mysteries, you need to solve 3 of them, like I said, to defeat the ancient one. And these mysteries are kind of tough. You never know what they are. Most of the time, they are collecting clues and then doing something with those clues. Now, on the randomness again, say you move to a clue. Well, instead of resolving an event there, you're going to resolve a clue event there, and go and say you need to pass with 3 dice. You roll, and if you get a 5 or 6, for the most of the time, you're going to pass and get that clue. But usually, if you don't roll one, it's gonna be pretty bad. Let's talk about the difficulty and the replayability. I think the difficulty is up there. This isn't an easy game. I'd say my wife and I win about 50% of the time. And it's the action economy you have in the first phase when you get those 2 actions per investigator, it doesn't seem like much, but you really need to make sure that you use that in an efficient way. And so the difficulty of making sure that you're getting the assets you need at the right time and leveling up the skills while keeping these mythos cards or these mystery cards, in the back of your mind, saying, what do I need to get done? What do we need to get done in this game? And the difficulty is definitely up there. The replayability is high. They start you off, I think this box comes with 4 ancient ones and 8 to 10 investigators that you can play, which you can mix and match, and they all have different abilities. So the replayability is there. I'd say more the randomness is there. You never know what you're going to get. Even these mysteries, you don't know which is going to come out first. The randomness is over the replayability. If you're going to, call the 2 the same thing, replayability and randomness, I'd say it's way up there, as far as every game is going to be different. Does that make it replayable? Kinda, but it always makes it different, which brings me into the luck versus strategy. There is a good amount of strategy, but really you're trying to mitigate your bad luck. I would say this game is what can we do to mitigate that bad dice roll? And for me, that's not really something I enjoy. I want to make sure when I don't want to know that this game may hinge on me getting a 5 or 6 on one die roll and missing. You can re-roll with certain assets, and you can spend a clue, which is a pretty important resource to spend to re-roll a die and try to get that success. But setting up a good strategy is there, and I like that about the game. But luck is heavily involved. If these D6s, if these regular 6-sided dice were going to decide the fate, I don't know if I enjoy that part the most about this game. I like it. I think it's, there's a lot of different things, but man, these dice sure have caused some hairs to fall out of my head. Let's talk about play time. This game takes us about 2 hours to play. And that's once we have it set up, of course. And it's an enjoyable experience as long as the dice are rolling about average for you. There's a lot of different add-ons for this game. We have one of them which just adds some investigators and an ancient one, but there's others that add additional boards, all of them are going to add more cards for you, which give you more variability when you play. There's just a lot to this game if you keep on wanting to add to it. It can get pretty unwieldy at times if you add too many, but each one's going to have an ancient one. Each one's going to have its still investigators, and you know what you're going to be, your goals are at the start of the game. So is this game good for two? Well, the first thing I'll suggest is if you're playing 2 players, play 2 investigators each. Have a little bit of variability. There can be a condition that one of your investigator gets that you're delayed, which means during the action phase, you get no actions. And that can be really disheartening to a real life player if they're just sitting there while the other person gets to do a couple actions. It feels kind of bad. So if one of your players gets delayed and they can't do anything for the turn, at least you can have another one. I also think the game is more balanced about that 4-player. It gets easier the more players you add. Playing a strictly 2-player game is really tough because you just can't get on certain sides of the board. If clues are on the northern hemisphere, to trudge and get there may take a little while. And then the card rafter may have clues spawned somewhere else on the board. Now, as I stated before, I do like this game, but I just can't recommend it. Everything from, this bag of monsters is awesome, from the variability of the investigators to not knowing what's coming to, luck mitigation to getting the assets to leveling up. These are all things I would love in a game, but I just can't get past the dice. I can't get past the times that I've rolled 6 dice on one of my skills and gotten 0 successes. It grinds my gears to have that much randomness. Knowing that at any point, on 3 dice, you should technically, on average, pass each test. But that's not how things work. If your character is also cursed, well, successes are only on a 6, so then we're really in trouble. So it really is kind of luck, bad luck mitigation. What can we do to give us the best opportunity for these dice? I think having the gates out here is pretty cool. Spawning random clues. The mysteries all feel different. The tense feeling you get when you get an injury, but you need to rest, but you need to move and get a certain clue and look over here and there and think of what the planning aspect is great. Getting these assets just feels good. It feels better to roll a ton of dice with a couple re-rolls, and kill a monster. So there's a lot of good things about this game. But if you're really into the anti-luck, if you don't want luck in your games, then this game is not for you. The story aspect that this tries to tell through these encounter cards and this and that, to me they're so disjointed. I can't tell you a single encounter that we had over the last 3 plays that I can remember. Maybe killing a big monster for one of the mysteries, but as far as the encounters go, they're just kind of hit or miss. They're usually, 2 sentences of text, test this, pass, fail condition. 2 sentences of text, roll some skill, pass, fail. And so you know what you're getting into, but it seems kind of just disjointed. Nothing really seems to fit too well. You know, the Arkham style games, the Mythos, you know, kind of style games, the Lovecraftian style games, you know, if that's your style, if that's the insanity and the health, then you're going to get more out of the encounters and more out of this than I am. I'm a little bit more straightforward. I want to either have the whole thing be a cohesive story or just the gameplay be phenomenal. I just think with the broken up encounters, with the random dice, I can't love this game. I'll play it if somebody wants to explore the game and get it, as long as they kind of set it up first, because it does take 30 minutes to set up. And it's a good game, but I just can't recommend this for 2. So I'll stop rambling on about this and leave you guys, and until next time.